Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the global media world. Everything from like industry shakeups to what's hot at film festivals.
Yeah.
We've got a news roundup, some exciting project announcements, and even a peek into the world of BTS fandom.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, the entertainment industry is constantly changing, but that just means there are a ton of opportunities out there. So are you ready to explore how we'll be entertained in the coming months and years?
Absolutely. And I'm particularly interested in how these individual stories reflect some of the larger shifts and challenges facing the industry.
Okay, cool. Let's start with this. It's almost ironic, this situation unfolding in the TV industry.
Hmm.
On one hand, you've got experienced producers having to take entry-level jobs,
Right.
which is a pretty big red flag, I would say.
Yeah.
But then you've got BuzzFeed, which is known for listicles, partnering with Lionsgate to make movies.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. The Further and Better Roundup really highlighted how the post-COVID slowdown and the shift to online viewing are squeezing traditional TV.
Yeah.
Broadcasters are focusing on those big, expensive dramas, leaving less room for the unscripted content that used to be like a bread and butter staple.
Yeah. And it's hitting freelancers hard.
Yeah.
The article mentions some are even having to retrain for entirely different careers.
Wow.
It makes you wonder, is this the beginning of the end for traditional TV as we know it?
Hmm. It's certainly possible, I think.
Yeah.
But I think what's more interesting is how platforms are blurring. BuzzFeed jumping into movies with a rom-com horror based on their F, Marry, Kill listicle.
Oh, wow.
It's a sign that content isn't tied to just one medium anymore.
It really makes you think about how audience attention spans and expectations are changing, right?
Absolutely. And this whole debate about theatrical windows feeds into that. AMC is pushing for a longer 45-day window, saying it's crucial for cinemas to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But studios want that flexibility to release on streaming sooner.
Even Stephen Knight, the creator of Peaky Blinders, is adamant about the upcoming movie hitting theaters first. He's worried a streaming release wouldn't do justice to the story's scope.
Right.
Yeah. It's a classic tug-of-war between tradition and innovation. But here's the thing. If cinemas want to stay relevant, they need to consider the whole viewer experience. Those 30-minute pre-movie ads in the UK, that might drive people straight back to streaming.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's all about finding that sweet spot.
Right.
You want revenue from ads, but you also don't want to alienate your audience.
Yeah, for sure.
What stands out to you from all of this? Do you see these events as connected in some way?
Definitely. I think it all points to a massive shift in how we consume entertainment. The lines between traditional and digital are getting blurry, and content is constantly adapting to find new audiences.
Yeah.
It's exciting, but it also means a fiercer battle for our attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said. Speaking of capturing attention, let's move on to some individual stories that I think you'll find interesting.
Okay.
Matthew McConaughey is back after 6 years.
Wow.
His new film, Rivals of Amziah King, is a rural drama set in Oklahoma.
Okay. What do you think drew him back after such a long break?
It's got to be more than just a good script. McConaughey is known for being selective.
Yeah.
Perhaps the character's depth and the unique setting resonated with him.
Yeah.
It could also signal a trend of A-listers seeking projects outside the typical Hollywood blockbuster.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the UK, celebrity travel shows are dominating Channel 5.
Really?
Yeah. You've got everyone from Kim Marsh to Philip Schofield showcasing their travel adventures.
Interesting.
I'm curious, what do you make of this trend? Is it purely escapism or is there something more?
I think it taps into a couple of things. First, after the pandemic, there's a pent-up desire to travel and experience new cultures.
Yeah,
These shows offer that vicarious thrill,
I see.
but also they leverage the parasocial relationship viewers have with celebrities. It's like traveling with a friend.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And speaking of highly anticipated sequels, the trailer for The Last of Us Season 2 just dropped, and fans are going crazy.
Oh, yeah. Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey are back, and it looks like we're in for some intense action and new characters.
I'm fascinated to see if Season 2 can maintain the quality of the first. Adaptations from video games can be hit or miss,
True.
but with the talent involved and the buzz surrounding it, this one seems to have a real shot at success.
Yeah. It's interesting how these stories, while individually unique, reflect those larger industry trends we discussed earlier. A-listers seeking meteor roles, the rise of alternative viewing experiences, and the constant demand for fresh content.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder, with all these moving pieces, what will the entertainment landscape look like in a few years? What will be a next big trend to capture our attention?
Right. Let's dive into some more specific projects and see if we can uncover any clues.
All right. Sounds good.
Are you ready to explore the world of adaptations?
Lead the way. I'm always intrigued by how stories translate from one medium to another.
We were just talking about adaptations, and I've got two projects that really highlight the challenges and opportunities involved. First up is Nick Verso's take on Invisible Boys, a novel set in Geraldton, Western Australia.
Okay.
He's made some significant changes, like adding a First Nations character and giving the female characters more depth.
Those are interesting choices.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's trying to strike a balance between staying true to the source material while making it resonate with a wider audience. I'd be curious to know if fans of the book embrace those changes.
Yeah. It raises a question about the responsibility of an adaptation, right? Is it to faithfully recreate the original or to reimagine it for a new medium and a new audience?
It's a tricky tightrope walk.
Yeah.
And speaking of high-wire acts, we've got Keanu Reeves not just starring in, but also producing Netflix's adaptation of BRZRKR.
Oh, wow.
It's based on a comic he co-created about an immortal warrior.
Talk about commitment. It shows you how passionate he is about this project.
Yeah.
But it also makes me think about the power dynamics in Hollywood.
Right.
Having an A-lister like Reeves involved probably opens a lot of doors that wouldn't be available to a lesser-known creator.
That's true. Having that star power can definitely influence which projects get greenlit.
Yeah.
But it also puts a lot of pressure on the adaptation to succeed.
Right.
If it flops, it's not just the studio taking a hit. It's also a personal blow to the star attached.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, let's move from fictional adaptations to the world of documentaries, which seems to be having a major moment. At SXW, the BTS documentary Beyond the Stars is creating a lot of buzz, but it's not just about the band itself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's actually focusing on the global impact of the BTS REY, their fandom.
Right, the fandom.
And that's a smart angle. It taps into a larger conversation about the power of fandom and how it can drive cultural trends.
Yeah.
It also acknowledges that the fans themselves are a major part of what makes BTS so successful.
Meanwhile, at the Australian International Documentary Conference, or ADC, there's been a lot of discussion about the true crime craze.
Yeah.
Why do you think this genre is so popular right now?
I think it's a combination of factors. For some, it's a way to safely explore the darker side of human nature.
I see.
For others, it's about the investigative journalism aspect, especially as traditional media declines.
Yeah.
And then there's the simple fact that truth can be stranger than fiction.
The ADC also highlighted the crucial role of access in documentary filmmaking. Having those exclusive interviews or behind-the-scenes footage is like currency in this world.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Viewers want to feel like they're getting an inside look, something they wouldn't find elsewhere.
Yeah.
And for filmmakers, securing that access can be the difference between a compelling story and a missed opportunity.
And speaking of deep dives, Seth Rogen went all out researching his upcoming Hollywood satire, The Studio.
Right.
He interviewed everyone from studio execs to writers, aiming for an authentic portrayal of the industry.
I love his work, so I can't wait to see how he skewers Hollywood.
Yeah.
But what's striking here is his commitment to research. Yeah. It shows that even in comedy, getting the details right can elevate the humor and make it resonate on a deeper level.
So we've got documentaries exploring fandom and the dark side of humanity in comedies, digging into the inner workings of Hollywood.
Yeah.
What surprised you most about these festival insights?
I think it's the sheer variety of stories being told.
Yeah.
It's proof that there's an audience for everything, from K-pop fandom to true crime, as long as it's done well and offers a fresh perspective.
Before we jump into some final industry updates, I wanted to touch on something that's been in the news lately. The cancellation of Netflix's The Recruit after just 2 seasons.
Oh, yeah.
It had decent reviews and a solid fan base, so it seems kind of surprising.
It's a stark reminder that in the streaming world, data often trumps critical acclaim or even audience love.
Wow.
Netflix relies heavily on algorithms and early performance metrics to make decisions.
Yeah.
The numbers aren't there right away. They're quick to pull the plug.
It makes you wonder if this data-driven approach is actually hurting creativity in the long run. Could it be preventing shows from finding their audience over time just because they don't fit the algorithm?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
It could lead to a homogenization of content, with streaming services only greenlighting projects that fit neatly into predefined categories.
Right.
And that wouldn't be good for anyone, creators or viewers.
And it's not just about what's happening on screen.
Yeah.
We need more diversity behind the camera as well.
Right.
Writers, directors, producers from all backgrounds.
Absolutely. Representation matters, both in terms of who's telling the stories and whose stories are being told.
Speaking of potentially misleading things, Property expert Andrew Winter has been quite vocal about the lack of authenticity in some property shows. He argues that they often misrepresent the reality of the market, which could create unrealistic expectations for viewers.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
It highlights the responsibility that comes with producing content, especially in a genre that directly impacts people's lives and financial decisions.
Right.
There's a fine line between entertainment and exploitation.
It's a good reminder that we shouldn't take everything we see on TV at face value.
Exactly. Now, before we get to our final thoughts, are you ready for a quick rundown of some exciting film projects that have caught my eye?
Always. I'm all ears. Okay, hit me with some of these intriguing film projects you mentioned.
Well, first up, we have Bong Joon-ho, the mastermind behind Parasite, who's working on a new film called Mickey 17. Details are scarce, but we do know Robert Pattinson is set to play multiple roles.
Multiple Robert Pattinsons. Knowing Bong Joon-ho's style, that could be anything from like mind-bending sci-fi to a darkly comedic social commentary. I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a blend of comedy and suspense, keep an eye out for Paul Feig's latest, Inside Another Simple Favor. He's got a knack for creating films that are both hilarious and keep you guessing until the very end.
I'm a huge fan of his work, so that's going straight to my watch list. But looking back at everything we've discussed, it's clear the entertainment industry is facing some major challenges. The shift to streaming, the impact of the pandemic, the constant pressure to innovate, it's a lot to navigate.
It is, but I also see a lot of resilience and creativity emerging. What do you think are the biggest obstacles the industry is facing right now?
For me, it's finding a sustainable model for streaming. There are so many services out there, but it's not clear how many can survive long term. And as we talked about earlier, the reliance on data could be stifling creativity and leading to a lack of diversity in content.
I agree. It's like a double-edged sword. Data can be helpful for targeting audiences, but shouldn't be the only factor driving decisions. We need to ensure that diverse voices and stories have a chance to shine through, even if they don't fit neatly into an algorithm.
And it's not just about what's happening on screen. We need more diversity behind the camera as well. Writers, directors, producers from all backgrounds.
Absolutely. Representation matters, both in terms of who's telling the stories and whose stories are being told.
But amidst all these challenges, there are also some really exciting opportunities emerging. What are you most optimistic about?
The rise of independent filmmaking is incredibly promising. With digital technology and online platforms, it's easier than ever for filmmakers to create and distribute their work outside the traditional studio system. This opens doors for fresh voices and unique perspectives.
Yeah. It's a reminder that great storytelling can come from anywhere. And with streaming services reaching audiences worldwide, there's a growing demand for content that reflects diverse cultures and experiences.
Exactly. It's a chance for the industry to become truly global, connecting people across borders through shared stories and experiences.
And let's not forget the potential of emerging technologies. Virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence. These tools could revolutionize how we tell stories and immerse audiences in completely new ways.
Imagine experiencing a film not just through sight and sound, but with all your senses. It could be a truly transformative experience.
It feels like we're on the cusp of a whole new era of entertainment, one that's more immersive, interactive, and globally connected.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, we can't overlook Francis Ford Coppola's foray into live cinema with Brother vs. Brother. It's an exciting experiment in blending live performance with cinematic techniques.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if this catches on. It could be a way for cinema to offer something truly unique, something you can't replicate at home on your couch.
It's all about finding ways to engage audiences in new and unexpected ways. And that's what makes this industry so fascinating.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of global media, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to ponder. If you had the power to shape the future of entertainment, what would you change? What kind of stories would you prioritize? What new frontiers would you explore?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with, because ultimately the future of entertainment is in their hands. They are the viewers, the fans, the creators who will shape what we watch, read, and experience in the years to come.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another exploration of a fascinating topic. Until then, keep those imaginations fired up, and don't be afraid to dive deep into the things that spark your curiosity.